evening. Welcome to Damage Does D&D. We are back tonight with episode 66. Oh yeah. Of Helloran Rising. 66? Hell? Getting it? Okay, just a bit of a hint for heads up for those in the know. So, without further ado, we will get Florian to give us his recap of what happened last time. Florian.
Well, that was some fight against a dragon. A dragon! Ow, they are real and very dangerous. I really hope we, especially Yark and Gus, end the war. It would be good to get something ticked off that box again. I'm glad we're near the edge of the forest now. Safety for once is always nice to look forward to. But we ended through Before we ended through, Trololo made a speech about Drummond, about how it isn't his home, but it's where he's from. He still thinks highly of himself, even though he's a little shorter. After the speech, I think Sprocket, now talks way too much and should be included in the Chatty One group. The group starts to set off, passing the forest boundary one by one. Sprocket then tries and walks straight back out again. Weird. But I also think I know what's going on. So I try it too and confirm it's because we have both been cursed or touched by a devil. Melissa then tried it next, and the same thing happened. Apparently, there's these things called sprites that guard the entrance of the forest and decide who enters and who doesn't. I know the elves are very magical and elusive at best. This must be why. We decide to wait for a bit. Then Celeste comes out and says an elder has been notified of her presence and is coming. Then, from out of nowhere, an elf called Aedes appears, questions us, and indeed confirms that an elder is coming. In the meantime, the dwarves all go in, including Bridgerus, and the elves are taking them to some sort of sanctuary that was prepared for them after Ferenz told them this would be happening. Oh, yeah, Ferenz. I forgot to say, we met him in the fire waste just as we were about to start fighting the dragon. He seems like a lovely fellow, very tall, furry, but from what I can tell, kind at heart. Now, some time's passed, and eventually the elder elf just appeared out of nowhere, right in front of Melissa. Lady Phelan was her name, very beautiful indeed. After talking to Melissa, she asked if she could cast a spell. I have no idea what it was, but it allowed her to see why Melissa could not enter the forest. It confirmed that it was because Melissa was touched by a devil. Because of this, Melissa would not be allowed to enter the forest, mainly because the deal that Melissa didn't make with Fiona. Lady Phelan then did the same with me. I explained the situation a bit more, but because I was no longer cursed, I was allowed to enter. This is where it gets interesting. When Lady Phelan was going to speak to Sprocket, Madame Miette stepped in front and did all the talking. Conversations were quick, and from what I could tell, something wasn't right. I'm assuming Sprocket asked Miette for help, as they were insistent in responding to Lady Phelan every time. I went to step in, to aid with the conversation, to shed more light on what was going on. Lady Phelan did not like this, but Madame Miette let me speak, and I think it did help. It was agreed, with Miette promising that nothing would happen whilst we were in the forest and that we would leave in the morning straight after. All three of us could enter. After a few careful choice words from Lady Phelan, she vanished, just like that. If I had to hedge my bets on people, and I'm pretty good at reading people, I think Lady Phelan is Sprocket's mom. We entered the forest once again. Nothing happened this time, and we walked to a very big tree. Iadis did something and teleported us to a platform high in the canopy of the forest. Everyone was there, food, drinking, laughter. It was good to see people being happy, relaxing, and raising their glass to something good happening. I decided to keep sober. A long travel awaits, more dwarves to be saved, and the end of the world to stop.
Yay! Good work. Well, as dear Florian has said, you are high up in the canopy. Some of you have had a few beers. Well, more like some brandy wine-esque type thing to drink. There are dwarven drinking songs being sung. There are conversations being had, and that is where we pick it up. So, before you take a long rest for the evening, is there anything you would like to do or say? Or not? Or fall off the tree? Whatever.
Can I just like from when we get there and
Mhm.
for when people start turning in, whoever they may be, can I just keep an eye on the surroundings and to see if I see any of the elves what are mysteriously trying to skulk somewhere, just looking at us or anything?
Make a
If there's
perception
anyone in
check.
particular? Oh, that could have been so good. I think that's 11.
11. No,
Yeah, it's 11.
elves don't appear to be skulking. They are uh, talking to dwarves. A lot of them approach Celeste very respectfully, bow, and generally pay her homage. But yeah, nobody's skulking.
I'm going to go and find friends.
Okay, you find friends.
He's going to be sitting literally in the corner of the room, just observing all of this with a large stein in hand.
I'll go over. Equally large, which looks bigger proportionately.
Yeah.
I'm just going to plonk myself down next to him. You right, big man?
Ooh. Hello there, Mr. Yorick.
Right. Sorry, I forgot. I'm drunk.
Yes, you are.
I've heard that you know dragons. Or a dragon. Or something.
I know quite a bit about dragons, to be honest. It's part of my education.
Where are you from?
I don't really know, to be honest.
Takes notes.
My folk live on an island, and I, for one reason or another, ended up washing up on the shores, and I was taken in by these people.
Oh, right. Well, that's interesting. Right, so, anyway, business. I've been told by Briox that we need to end this war. So we need to do some talking with some dragons to try and make some sort of peace for the greater good.
The greater good, you say?
The great good. What was that?
Great big bushy beard.
I'm working on it. And so I think that you might be able to help us with this if you know a dragon. That's kind of my thinking.
Well, I know quite a bit about dragons, and I know how to speak to them. Your friend, Mr. Gus, I believe he can talk to dragons too, because he talks to.
He's my cousin.
Right. Okay. So your cousin, Mr. Gus, I believe he speaks to his friend.
He does. He can speak to dragons, but that doesn't really give us an in with the dragons because he only really talks to bridges.
Right. Well, if you're Orcs, is that your?
You've not heard of Reorcs?
Well, no, not really.
He's the best. I should tell you all about him. No, stay on topic, friends.
Maybe later, but so your Mr. Reorcs is wanting peace between your people and the dragons, right?
Reorcs is a god of the dwarves.
Okay.
Who has as far as I know, historically kind of waged war against the dragons, but now he's telling us that we need to make peace with the dragons, which is going to be difficult because of, the aforementioned murder.
I can see why that could be a problem. Now, I can
So
only.
we need to find a big important dragon that we can talk to try and make some sort of peace. Not any of these like crazy sapphires.
Right, he starts looking round, and then he leans close to Yorick. Where I get my power from, on our island, we pay homage, and some of us worship a massive, ancient crystal dragon. Now, I mean, that's not really. I don't like sharing that really because I don't want people to go hunting for him. But he's my boss, and we love him, and he provides for us. Now, I was taught by his priests from a very young age about dragons and the like, and I want peace with all dragons. Dragons are good. They're in touch with the land. They're very. I mean, some of them aren't so good, but that's besides the point. But generally speaking, dragons are good in that they provide balance with the land, which
Can we?
Go on.
Can we go to your island and speak with this dragon? Do they have some sort of sway amongst the rest of the dragons so we can convince him to tell them to stop fighting?
No, and this is not because I'm not willing to go back to the island. It's because I don't know where the bloody hell it is.
You've lost your island!
Well, I was sunbathing on a piece of driftwood, as was the like, because it was my afternoon nap time. And then I woke up and I was out in the middle of the sea. And then I decided, why not have another nap? And then I ended up washing up on the shores. And then I met these nice pointy-eared fellows, and they took me in, and here I am.
Right. So we need to find someone who might know where your island is.
I mean, I could just see if I could commune with the boss, and then, I could act as. I mean, look at me. I'm covered in dragon scales, and I'm yeah. I don't think that.
I mean,
that's
I've got quite a bit of dragon scale stuff myself, but it was kind of forcibly taken. So, I think yours was a little nicer.
Mine was lovingly curved.
Oh, right.
I believe we can help each other, Mr. Yorick, and I think that perhaps we need to start trying to communicate with the dragons, and I think a good start is when you're a bit more sober. Perhaps I can start to teach you the rudiments of the draconic language, so you can act as.
When you say a bit more sober to a dwarf, you might be waiting a while.
That's fine. But I can start to teach you the rudiments of the draconic language, and so you can act as an emissary for Mr. Reorx.
Oh, I think that might be Gus's realm. I'm not good with language. I'm good at writing in Dwarvish, but he can already speak dragon. So
I think it's good that Gus is helping with the dragons, but I think it would mean a lot coming from an actual priest of Reorx, and it would hold some weight if you could at least attempt to try and talk to them a little bit. And then me and Gus could do the bulk of the translation. I mean, it's just an idea, but we can refine it later on.
You're probably right. Yep. All right. It's what the boss wants, so I'm gonna do it. You think that's the right thing to do?
I mean,
Okay. That all sounds good. Let's do that tomorrow. Right now, I'm gonna go get pissed. Have a
and
good night.
you too, Mr. Yorick. You too.
So as this conversation
Just walk
winds
away.
up,
Singing along.
as you're walking away, you see this sort of area of this tree. It's like almost like a clearing, and you see the children, the dwarven children that were with you, are running about playing with Bridris while the adults are all getting hammered. And you see one of them trips and falls off the edge. And and Bridris immediately off the side to try and catch her. Gus, you see this. You see Bridris going down. So you're quite happy that Bridris is going to save her, but you rush to the edge and you see the child and Bridris both floating very slowly down. And you see an elf standing with a hand out. It's okay. We thought this might happen. We have Featherfall. And you see Bridges going, Mum! I'm floating!
If I see that, I'm going to jump off as well.
The elf goes, and you go, poof. She said, it was meant for accidents.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I just thought it was
Sorry.
really cool.
As you sort of float down and down and down. It takes a very long time because you're quite high up. But eventually you join Bridris and the child down at the bottom of the tree, where another elf is saying, well, I think we've learned a lesson, haven't we?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Don't fall off. There might not be an elf somewhere all of the time. So,
Oh, right. Okay.
here are the stairs to get back up. Enjoy your journey.
Okay. I'm drunk, I don't care.
Okay.
I'll just go scampering up the stairs with a little kid in hand.
Yeah, and Bridris follows
I
you up.
just fly back up again.
And then Bridris is like following you up for a bit, and he goes, hang on a minute. Mum?
Yeah.
I can fly.
What? I know you can.
And she's like, tips her wing. The child scrambles up. She goes, right, see you at the top. And leaves you standing there.
Children. Well, I'll be grumpy now going up the stairs.
Fair enough. So, while Gus is grumpily hammering up the stairs, which will take him quite some time, is there anybody else that would like to do anything before, things come to a close for an evening?
Despite how awful I sound at the moment, I'm going to go find Miette. I'm going to go sit next to her.
Okay. Miette, are you able to be found at the moment?
I will have kind of done that cat-like thing of finding a perch slightly above the party where I can watch the party
Sure.
and also steal snacks
That's
as
I
the
could-
one takes me.
Yep,
If I
that's
can
fine.
find a way up there, I will, and I will bring snacks.
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
it's tricky, but you can find there are sort of branches that are almost step-like you can get up to. And Miette is sort of lounging on an overhanging branch, watching events.
It's interesting to see that Gus and Yarick are quite a clear representation of dwarves as a whole, it seems.
It might have meant something entirely different if they were kicked out rather than left of their own free will.
Yeah.
I imagine you didn't scramble up here just to bring me more treats.
No, as noble as the thing that he is. I actually wanted to ask you about some stuff.
Certainly.
Because, of course, you're a madame and you've been all over Helloran. But when we was walking through the squeeze, I think it was called,
Mm.
I was a bit out of it. But the one thing I did hear was that story you told?
Oh, but the one I asked Balo about.
Yeah, I think he was talking to Balo at the time.
She said his name.
I know. Yes, I was wondering about his involvement in that story. He doesn't always show up quite as obviously.
I mean, yeah. But I was quite intrigued by the rest of that story, and more
Hmm?
specifically the person that he tricked.
Oh, the names change. Sometimes it was a Sierra, sometimes it was a Teresa. The names vary depending on what city we're in.
Right.
It's I don't know if there's any truth in it. I don't know if there's any truth in any of these stories. And the names sometimes change depending on which city we visit.
Well,
It's the same with all stories.
I mean, from what I've learned about the Fae and fiends and all that, is that a lot of the stories we grow up with tend to be warnings more than anything else.
These ones being do not trust. I'm not sure how you can take a lesson in not trusting a trickster god when they're disguised as any possible race and any possible person.
It's more about keeping your hand close to your chest more than anything else. But,
True.
and I'm now checking my notes to make sure I did actually pick that up. Hang on. Because I vaguely recall the name has gone from my head. God of Death. I've forgotten her name.
Remora.
Remora.
I vaguely recall her name being mentioned around that story.
Yes.
I can't find it as to whether I actually heard that.
No, I think you did.
Yeah, no, that bit was said out loud by me because I remember Celeste picking up on it as well.
Okay. Well, the one you mentioned when you was talking to him was involved Remora.
So sometimes the big stories do. I mean, that's only one of them. There's another one that says that the reason the squeeze is the way it is because the god of the mists killed another god there.
Right.
And Sam, I think that was the god of healing, was killed there by him. But I mean, that's two gods that have been killing. Well, one god that has died and one god that has done the killing in that area, and we have met them both. So there's not much truth to be taken from these tales.
That's fair enough. But I still find it interesting, and I think if I'm to be finding a way outside of the problems that I've got in the moment, then I need to start taking in a bit more, learning more.
There is a third story of the squeeze that you might like then.
I'm always down to listen.
It involves the power of a single person. In this case, that the atmosphere of the squeeze came about because of a single orc that held off a demon army in that place.
It's intriguing.
His name I don't have either, but sometimes one person can be all it takes.
That's very true.
Demons? Did I say demons? Trolls. It was a troll army. My mistake. Too many demons on the mind.
Yeah, you can get that.
But you never know. Maybe there would be interest in the cities up north to tell the story of a demon army instead of a troll army. Yes, it's good to tell variations sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I got pretty used to that. kind of had. You could almost compare it to storytelling, the way that I would weave words to convince people of relationships and all that at the temple. Though I did try to make a point of not lying to them.
Well, it's not lying per se. I mean, the essence of the story remains the same. The inspiration it gives to people. It's creative, but we don't view it as lying.
That I can understand.
Silamar. That was the name of the orc. He was the one who held the army back.
Sanmar. You know, even if I can't find a god, I think I would like to hear more of your stories.
I would be glad to share them.
I think it
Those
would be
are
interesting.
all of the ones I know about the squeeze, though.
It's fair enough.
But usually, they're usually spun out into great epics, told over the course of an entire evening, so 3 is enough.
Well, I can imagine. I used to spend my times back home looking out the windows down at the caravans that were outside the city. All these performances going on and never allowed to go out there.
You've missed out. We must bring you in a caravan when all this is over.
I think I'd like that.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think I could learn a lot from you, madame.
I would be happy to teach. Especially the art of not lying.
Oh, I think I've got that down to a T. I just need to go at it with a bit more fervor.
A little more practice.
I mean, not lying is a perfect art. You hear a voice over your shoulder yet. And as you look up, Melissa, you can see the face of... It's very strange. It's cat-like still, but it has pointed ears of an elf. As if he's trying to blend in. Yes, not lying is what we do best, isn't it?
Who's this we you're referring to with the pointed ears?
He's off. Oh. And they turn back into tabaxi ears. So sorry. So sorry. I was on my way home from a party. Looks like you have a party going on here. And yet...
A dwarfish one.
Well, dwarfish and elvish, all at the same time. Interesting.
I think it's mostly the dwarves doing the drinking.
The dwarves are doing the drinking, but there are a few elves. If you look carefully, you can see them. He points out a couple of elves that have got sort of taller, not tankards, but sort of slim, vase-like glasses. And these are glasses rather than wooden cups that everybody else has. Those are the ones you have to watch out for. Anyway, I just thought I'd stop by. Heard you mention my name.
It's very kind of you to check in.
Well, you are my favourite after all.
So you say.
I do, don't I? I've said it at least twice now.
Perhaps then I could impose on you to do something for my amusement. Because someone has very much annoyed me.
Speak the person's name.
Oh, it's a new name. You might not know it. But we have been calling him Sprocket.
Sprocket?
Sprocket. Yes.
Some sort of
it is there. A new dwarf.
A new dwarf?
Mm.
I thought his name was Trelador.
Not in the city. Or in the forest.
He's incognito. How exciting.
Trying to be.
And you would wish this to not be the case. Is that what you're saying? I mean,
Not necessarily that I want to get him in trouble with his family, but maybe if he thought his disguise had slipped. But it might be a bit of a challenge for you, something a bit
How
more subtle.
delicious. What we'll do then? Bear with. He sort of thinks for a second. Okay, perfect. I believe that Mr. Sprocket should find the next 24 hours incredibly interesting.
You are too kind.
Well,
My stay in the city has been made so much better.
oh, you haven't reached the city yet, my dear. This is
Well,
merely
in this part of the forest.
a tree. Cities are much larger normally, with like buildings and. Well, you should know what cities look like, right? Really? I'm sure you do. You're an intelligent
Clearly,
person.
the alcohol is getting to me. Snack?
Clearly so. Oh, no. Elven snacks leave me a bit. So I will. Yes, I will leave you and your delightful companion. He sort of looks at you, Melissa. Any time, my dear, you wish to have a conversation, shall we say, do just call out.
I give him a polite smile and say, I will consider your offer.
Do. We could work well together, you and I. Anyway, must rush. Lots of things to do. People to torture,
Enjoy.
etc. Goodbye. He just sort of fades out of existence. But you're left with that sort of uneasy feeling that he's still watching and just grinning somewhere behind you.
Yeah.
It's most unnerving.
Yeah. I will take that opportunity to pour out the last of my dwarven drink because should not have made that slip up.
Mm-hmm.
But at least someone else will get to pay for it.
Yes,
Love you, Dan.
indeed. And we'll talk to Sprocket later. So, as your conversation are you continuing on, or is that your conversation just sort of dwindling
After
into
that,
niceties?
probably just go to more of a casual, relaxed conversation,
Fair enough.
Watching
making a
people
little bit of fun of all the dwarves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
throwing peanut shells at people type of thing.
Okay. So we will leave Melissa and Miette sitting in the tree, not snooping, but just sort of observing the rest of you. And what they can see is Celeste. What are you doing, Celeste?
Probably very politely smiling at people, but really wishing they would just sort of give me some peace and quiet for a minute.
As your expression varies from polite smile to please go away, you notice that Ealtus is looking at you directly, not, sort of side eye, but she's looking at you directly and sort of nods as if asking for permission to approach. She wanders over. So, I'm terribly sorry to intrude. Your lady, you seem uncomfortable with the presence of the other elves. Is this something you would wish to do something about? Should I have them
No.
retreat?
No, not at all. I'm just not used to such attention, is all.
Well, you are, with all due respect, incredibly ancient to us. And we were wondering, perhaps, is it your intention to become the forest master? Is that why you're here?
Is that something I've heard of before?
No, this is completely new to you. You've no idea what she means.
I do apologise, but I'm not even sure of what that is, I'm afraid.
Well, currently the forest warden is well, Lady Phelan, who is not a druid, which is unusual, certainly. You are a druid of stars, obviously. It's fairly obvious your magic, where that comes from. I myself am a druid as well. But as the ranking druid, it is totally within your right to claim Forest Warden, should you so desire. Especially given your great age. No offence intended, again, but you are, as I say, the ranking druid as far as I or anyone else would ever know. This is... if things were normal, then there would be no problem. You would immediately become Forest Warden if you so desired, but things have been difficult recently, and we have Lady Phelan.
I'm flattered, of course, but I'm only 117. I just happen to have come from a different period in time.
Be that as it may, you are, for all intents and purposes, much, much older than anyone else here. So, therefore, I mean, you know what? Forget it. I didn't mean to cause any distress or confusion. I apologise. I would just... That is basically what... And she sort of gestures to the rest of everyone is gossiping about as to what your intentions are, a being of your stature and age. Sorry, again, apologies. But given your unique circumstance, you can imagine the gossip surrounding your intentions.
I still have much to do here. I have members of my family who have made their way here as well, and I need to find them and make sure that they are okay.
Of course, but if you ever decide that the forest is where you would like to be, then of course, please come, tell us.
I will remember that. Thank you.
You are most welcome. I will have a word with certain others and let you get your rest. And
Thank you.
I bid you good evening. Have one of... she takes a different wooden cup, not one of the brandy wines, and gives you this. This may be more to your taste. It is fresh spring water rather than the dwarfs. We knew the dwarfs would want strong alcohol, so we made some, but not everyone has to drink it if they don't want to.
Thank you. I don't mind a little partake every now and again, but not to the same extent as some of the other members of my party.
Nobody, I believe, enjoys that to the same extent that the dwarves do.
You very much
concerned.
You very may well be right there.
Yes, I have seen them. Several of them have fallen off already and had to be rescued, so...
It is good that you were well prepared for their arrival.
We had some heads up. Friends seemed to think that there would be casualties, so we were prepared for all eventualities.
He seems like a nice...
He is...
person.
Very kind, very tall, and utterly bewildering all at the same time. He speaks, and we know the words that he uses, but the order in which he uses them sometimes made no sense at all. Things like bodacious. I've no idea what that means, but he does use that. And he uses the word righteous a lot. I'm not sure that it means the same to him as it means to us. He does tend to use that as a strange sort of expression of
Happiness?
well, I don't know, you see, it's very difficult to tell.
He seems like a pretty jolly fellow.
He does, yeah, very, very relaxed. One would say laid back is his style. Others would say horizontal, but laid back is what we'll go with. So, anyway, I will leave you to your evening's entertainment.
Thank you.
And she wanders off.
During the course of the festivities, friends would have removed 2 or 3 of these small sort of apple-sized hollow sort of crystals from his belt, and they have like a little cap that he can screw out of place, and there's a small sort of almost black marble inside them.
Right.
And he casts light on the marble and puts it inside the ball and screws the cap back into place and just gives it to the children. And there's just this multicolored sort of light just beams out of this small sort of crystal ball.
Excellent.
And he just gives he does it to about 3 of them and then gives them to the children to play with.
Yeah, they are more than happy with that. They start running around, sort of chasing each other. Whoever's got the balls, and then Bridges gets involved. And Gus, as you
Yes.
reach the top flight of the stairs, you are absolutely puffed out. It's a long way. You see Bridges race by with a sort of glowing rainbow colours of light coming out of her mouth. Oh, yeah, Mum, how you doing?
I just roll around on the floor laughing.
And she's being chased by several children, trying to get the ball off of her. So yeah, they're having a great time. So you reach the top of the stairs. Trelador, what are you up to at the moment?
Rocket.
I can call you what I like. I've decided.
Sprocket has firmly ensconced himself in the middle of the dwarfs. He's trying to where's Wally himself, so he's not spotted. So he's just a dwarf amongst others.
Okay, you're drinking.
And he's not. He's sipping an ale, but he's not interacting with any of the dwarfs. He's just trying to hide in the crowd.
Okay.
Spot Sprocket.
Hiding. We're playing Spot the Sprocket. I see. Okay. Give me a stealth check. I mean, I know you're not trying to be stealthy, but you're hiding. You're trying to sort of blend in with the rest of the dwarves.
12.
It's not going great, is it? I mean, it's okay. You're a dwarf amongst dwarves, but you're not talking to any of them, and you're not drinking with them. You're just sort of sitting in amongst them, and people are starting to sort of edge away from you.
I'm saying, if I'm sitting there and not even being included, if I'm trying to block them all out, the more dwarfs try and get me involved, and they bring their friends over, it draws more attention to me.
Yeah, pretty much. And you're sitting drinking, and as you drink, you look and you see in the bottom of your mug, or as the liquid, your reflection looks very elvish. Your face retains your old features.
Okay, I will panic. What the table's like? Table? Can I get under a table? Can I hide somewhere?
I mean, they're not really tables. There's just they're like a solid piece of wood that runs along this tree that's sort of sculpted out of the wood. So there's a curve underneath it, so you can sort of sit with your legs crossed underneath the table and be at table level.
Okay. If that way, I'll grab like any sort of sheet or any sort of tablecloth or anything like that I can find.
Okay,
Or equivalent.
make a quick perception check. See if you can find anything to hide under.
Is this noticeable from anybody who would be
Make a
watching
perception
the party?
check.
14.
14. Okay, you grab a corner of a cloth, sort of drape it across your.
I'm just going to wrap it around my face to make like a.
Yeah.
To hide my face.
Okay. So, Miette, Melissa, Florian, you may make perception checks to see what's going on, because the three of you have already told me you're observing the party.
Mine's a non-natural 20.
Right.
9.
9.
You're
Miette,
muted.
who's
Debbie.
not talking to us.
Do I have any chance to get advantage? Because I've been like waiting for this.
Absolutely. Because you asked Balo to do something, so yeah, you can have advantage.
21 then.
21. Okay, Melissa, you are still chatting on to Miette, and she's nodding and smiling and answering in all the right places. But Miette, Florian, you see Trellador Sprocket do this. He's just grabbed a cloak out of someone's bag and just wrapped it round his head.
And he looks like a dwarf to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just would I say?
Hang on.
Yeah, I'm just going to meander about, not go directly up to him, but just meander around that area and just.
Okay. So as you do this, Sprocket, you wrap this around your head, which causes great hilarity as the children are running past at that point, chasing Bridris, and one of them goes, oh, "He's hiding! Let's get him!" And the children make a beeline for you, and Bridris does, and start pulling on the cloak to
It's
get
mine.
you out
Leave
of.
it alone, small child.
Are you going to,
No, it's a game. You know,
excellent.
Here's a game.
They start pulling it. Uncover him.
Children, right, okay, children, do you want to play a game? It's called Go Away.
No, we're playing this. And Bridris, you see Bridris just like chomp on the edge of the cloak, starts pulling with the children. Not hard, but pulling.
Do you want me to make the dragon eat you? We're friends.
They just look at you and go, "What, Bridris?" Yank, yank.
It's mine. Leave it alone, and I'll pull it back off.
Okay, let's do a contested strength check. I mean, these are children, but they're dwarven children.
If
So-
I lose them.
Do you want me to roll for Bridris as well?
Yes, please.
That's not great for me. 18.
Okay.
That's with a +9.
Bridris was being very gentle. She only got a 6.
She got a 6. Well, the children rolled a 15. So
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Strength check. Strength check is 13.
13. The children rolled a 15 and Bridris rolled a 6. So if we combine those together, I would say with the children and Bridris, just whoop, this cloak spins you round as you let go of it. And you're like, oh, a little bit dizzy.
I'll put my hands up to my face and just
Okay.
stop running from the party.
Okay.
I would definitely follow him if he's done
Okay.
that.
Okay. What I'd like you to do now is make a dexterity saving throw to see whether you run straight off the edge of the tree or you manage to find some semblance of safety.
12 again.
12 again. Okay. Let me just roll against you.
Can I do anything to help if he's going to fall?
You see him barreling towards the edge of the tree, just
I,
straight with his
I'm,
hand
ass-
over
I'm,
his face.
I'm assuming that my speed would indefinitely catch up with him.
Yeah, you could definitely catch him.
Oh yeah, 100% then.
You can make a grapple check if you want.
If I can definitely catch him, I'd just basically stand in front of him and just so he hit me
Okay.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
instead of
See if you
falling
might
off the
get
edge.
knocked off the tree.
I mean, you might.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trelador, Sprocket. I'm assuming you don't want to stop.
No. Oh well, I probably can't see where I'm going because I'm trying to.
You bump into someone, and as you sort of uncover your eyes for a second, you see it is Florian.
Where you going? What's the matter?
My disguise. I'm not a dwarf anymore.
What exactly can you see with me if you just look straight ahead?
You look like you.
Yeah. From what perspective, though, Sprocket?
Make a wisdom saving throw, please, Sprocket.
Such disdain. 12 again.
12. Okay. You appear to be at just above eye level with Trelador, with Florian. You're sort of looking down at him.
Well, I'm back to being an elf, obviously.
You're not. To me, you are a dwarf, which is what you are, Sprocket.
I'm not a dwarf.
You are.
I may look like a not. I'm just shorter with a beard. I'm not an elf. I'm not a dwarf. I'm playing it. But anyway, I'm an elf at the moment.
No, you're not. You look like a dwarf to me.
How many
Trust
drinks
me.
have you had? Maybe it's your. Have you been drinking?
I have not been drinking. You know I don't drink that much. So come on, trust me.
With my passive, would I have noticed him run off?
I don't know. I think you're more concentrated on the children because you were sort of getting the ball sorted out for them and watching them play with Bridges. Because, Onyx Dragon, it's a bit of a rarity.
And do you really think, Sprocket, that if you were you, as big as you were, would be stopped by me standing in front of you if you were running?
Of course not. You can stop anything.
Well, how did I stop you just now then?
Because I wanted to.
You ran straight into me and then stopped.
I didn't want to hurt you.
You didn't even know I was there. You were about to run off the edge of the tree.
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't.
Let's get you into some quarters then if you think that you aren't a dwarf.
Well, I mean, I do trust you, I guess. But I'm taller than you. How can I be a dwarf?
You're asking me a question about magic, sir, and you know I'm not one for them, so I don't know, but we're in a forest which we struggle to get into, and you've just gone through a pretty big change.
Understatement of the century.
It is. So maybe
If
it's just
only you knew what I'd been through. Emotionally, physically, spiritually.
But the change what I'm talking about is obviously you now being Sprocket. It's happened in the last couple of days, so maybe it's your mind with you being back here. Just playing a few tricks on you.
Like I said, I'm not a dwarf. I'm not.
Well, whatever you are then, you definitely don't look like you.
That's the main thing. That's all I'm concerned about while we're traveling here, is that I don't look like me.
You don't. But if you're worried, and one of these little outbursts isn't going to help people not looking at you, maybe...
Not an outburst.
This little fright then.
I
know you don't. I know you don't get scared. Yes, sorry. How stupid of me. But why don't we find you some quarters just so you can just rest and no one can see you then?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. As you look about for some quarters, there are various sort of small pathways that would lead up to chambers big enough for 6-7 people to stay in at a time. There are other ones that are bigger, other ones that are smaller, but you get one, you get into it. It's fairly quiet as you go in. There's a sort of faint buzz as you pass through the doorway, and the sounds outside recede, go quiet, and it's very restful in here.
There you go. Feel any calmer?
I was perfectly calm. Is there any sort of mirror or any sort of reflective surface?
There is a large mirror.
I'll grab the mirror.
You look like you did when you were Trelador the elf.
Look. Florian, come here.
I stand behind him.
You see, obviously over the top of him, you look at him looking at a dwarven reflection.
I am looking at a very short person's reflection here.
It's a bit rude.
Well, I would say dwarven reflection, but you see you're not one, so...
That was more of a philosophical question, which we can tackle at another lesson Hebrew. What I was talking about was that I don't feel like a dwarf. I look like a dwarf, but I'm not a dwarf. I'm acting. Never mind. Do I look like a dwarf?
You do, to me. And I think to everybody else as well.
You think that's not good enough for us?
Well, I can't enter everybody else's mind, can I? I can't...
Well, go and find someone else then. Do something useful for once.
How suspicious does that sound? Excuse me, does Sprocket look like a 6-foot fucking tall elf whose mother is out of this forest? Or does he look like a dwarf? Yeah, brilliant question to ask everybody at a party.
Obviously one of our party, not some fucking random Florian. Go and find someone. Not Miette.
Sorry?
I've already in debt to her, and I can't afford to be in debt anymore to her.
No, it's not that the not Miette, it was the... Go and find someone.
Go and find someone. One of our group, Gus or Yorick will probably...
No, yeah, I get that part, but normally you follow that sentence with...
Now!
No, the other one. The kinder one.
Oh, just fuck off, Florian, and do what I say. I've already taken your bloody curse for you. What more do you want?
Let Fiddy stop laughing here, please, and then I will answer.
I may be a bit stressed because I'm in my homeland.
No, I know. But it's still nice to be kind, but I'll do this for you. And you can thank me probably never, but maybe later.
Maybe.
And I'll leave the rest area, the pod, as such.
You go back down, you can see Celeste sitting to the side, drinking some water. Ferenz is busy watching Bridris. Gus is having a drink now. He's made it up all of those stairs, and as is Yorick. Miette and Melissa, you don't immediately see them. But if you want to look for them, you can.
Yeah, I'd have a wonder if there was any one of our group that was talking to each other. I probably wouldn't go up to them because it's very rare that we have this opportunity to relax and actually have idle chat rather than specifics. So I'd probably go up to Celeste. I would assume that I might pick up that she looks a little bit uncomfortable.
She doesn't appear to look uncomfortable. Well, I don't know. Celeste, are you looking uncomfortable at a minute after your chat? Or are you... The elves are no longer sort of approaching you and bowing and scraping. They're just... Yeah, they've been told to lay off a bit.
Possibly a little bit bemused, confused, and reflective.
Yeah, I'd probably go up to Celeste then. Celeste, you okay?
Yes, I think so. I'm just a little bit... I've never been the object of gossip before. Not like this. This is strange.
Sorry, fill in a few gaps for me. Obviously, we were stuck outside the boundary.
Because of where I originally come from, they considered me to be an ancient elf in their society, and
Oh,
they, well, not quite revere me, but I feel like sometimes it's not that far off, and I'm not quite sure how to feel about it, to be honest.
suppose it would be weird actually being the age you are back then and now, but to them being, what, closer to 1,000 years older?
I mean, I'm from a different time, sure, but I'm still only 117 years old, which by elven standards is quite young.
Hey, I don't exactly know a lot about magic. You know me, just a fist and a stone fist and a quarterstaff. That's what I use. But I'm sure that there's a way they can tell that you're not quite. Well, how did Ramor put it? When you should be?
Yes, indeed. Is
But-
there something I can help you with, Florian?
Potentially me and Sprocket.
Of course.
And I'll just have a quick look around as we're now outside, a lot like amongst people. Just to see if there's anybody who seems to be
Make a quick perception check.
hearing in also. Oh, of 2 17s in a row, so non-natural 20 again for perception.
Okay. Looking around, you don't see anybody that's. Wait a minute. Yes, you do. There is somebody watching you. Miette is up on a branch, just sitting, talking to Melissa, allegedly, but also every now and again just watching you, particularly Florian.
Okay, I probably wouldn't take that into any thought.
I mean,
it's one of our own group.
Yeah, Miette
It's
would normally be doing this sort of thing. It's not unusual, but you do notice it
okay.
with your nice high roll.
Yeah, and a bit. Yeah, just if you could, can you follow me? Me and Sprocket are having somewhat of a discussion about appearances. Can you come and just help me, please?
You need someone on your side.
Yeah, he's being typical Sprocket and is never wrong, basically.
That sounds like Sprocket.
Thank you. He's just over here, and I'll obviously lead her to the pod.
Okay.
Sprocket?
So, Celeste, you enter and see Sprocket, the dwarf.
Right. Has Florian said anything to you?
Not fully.
I need to know if you're biased.
Have I
Okay.
ever lied to you,
I don't know.
Sprocket?
What do I look like? I'll give you two choices to narrow it down. I'm struggling. Elf or dwarf?
You look. I'm assuming he looks like a dwarf.
Yeah, absolutely.
You look like a dwarf, as you are supposed to.
Right. Okay then.
Do you look back in the mirror?
No.
Okay.
I think I might have a lie down. I've had a busy day.
Probably for the best. Yeah, get your head straight and all that.
Yes.
Well, sleep well, Sprocket, and see you in the morning.
Yes. About earlier.
Hmm?
Never mind.
Night, Sprocket. See you in the morning.
So, yeah, you see first Florian take Sprocket away, and then Celeste be got. It's turning in to be quite an interesting evening. Gus and Yorick, what are you guys doing? You still drinking hard and singing songs, or are you trying to do anything else in particular?
I'm drinking a bit less hard and standing nearer the edge of the balcony so that no other kids go flying off while they're chasing Bridges around. Just trying to make sure that, although it was great fun, if there's no elf down there, it won't be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the kids seem to have learned their lesson, but they are, and they're getting slightly less boisterous now as the evening wears on. So you can see they're getting pretty tired. So it may be time for them to hit the hay, as it were, shortly. But yeah, none of them seem to be, careering off towards the edge of the tree. Yorick, did you have anything you wanted to achieve before, apart from getting absolutely hammered?
Yeah, I'm having a good drink. I'll have started a game where I got like a bolt or something, a nut or something, and I'll just go and like pop it in someone's drink and go, "No, you've got to neck it."
Good game, like it. Roll me a d20, please.
13.
13. Okay, you managed to do this to at least 5 people, because you beat me by 5, and yeah, things are going as you would expect that to go. One person does, almost swallow the nut, but manages to sort of fish it out in time.
Now you've got to get someone else.
I know. Sort of, and he plonks it in your drink. Ha! Gotcha. Your turn. Yeah. It's going as well as you would expect.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you wish to achieve before oblivion? Or sleep, whatever.
I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll materialize a guitar from somewhere and just, play 3 chords. Just play Wonderwall on loop.
Okay, fair enough. So it's getting towards the end of the festivities, and you can see some of the elves are getting a little. Why haven't they gone to sleep? They've been walking all day, and now they're drinking. What is going on? They're definitely a little bit baffled as to why you haven't all just immediately wanted to go to sleep. So, unless there is anything else anyone wants to do, we'll say that you find rest in these beautifully silent chambers that give just a hint of a rustling leaves or rushing waterfalls, whatever it is that you think would relax you. And you can have oh god. So every time I look at the Discord chat, it's gone. Where was I? Yeah, you eventually all find rest, and we'll take a little break there. And we'll pick it up in the morning, perhaps. Who knows? Something may happen.
Although I would probably stay in the main chamber with Bridris, because Bridris would be too big to go in one of the pods, wouldn't she?
No. Some of them are really big, so she could quite easily fit into one of them if you wanted to.
Oh, okay.
But you can stay out in the main chamber as well. That doesn't matter.
Well, I was just going to say, if she was too big, we'd just she'd curl up, and I'd do my usual curl up, slide her under her wing.
Absolutely, yeah, you can do that. So, we will take a quick break, so grab a drink, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. We join the party as they take their rest up in the branches and the cool embrace of the elven trees. And the night passes calmly, softly. And you can all have a long rest eventually when D&D Beyond gets its act together. The morning comes. The rooms imperceptibly seem to brighten as the day... I spoke too soon, didn't I?
You did, yes.
She's up being annoying again. The rooms that you're in brighten imperceptibly as the magic contained in them matches the outside world. And you wake and the noise starts to filter into the rooms from the outside of elves talking and dwarves talking.
I would have been up at the crack of dawn to go and check on Morlenith and Melton and just see if they were okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They're assisting in any way they can. They're happy to see you. And so you were correct then. There were short dwarves. They are called. Yes,
It was, and
marvelous. And
pleasant.
what, are there
I mean,
more?
pleasant. Uh, uh, according to Mr. Yorick and Mr. Gus, there could very well be lots more, but
Right.
they want. I'm not sure whether they're going to go back, but I think it's probably a good idea if they do that I accompany them.
Right.
So I'm going to rely on you two to hold the fort here and make sure that
Absolutely.
they're well cared for.
Of course, we are the forest. This is the forest, the great forest of Drummond. We care for all.
I know, but you two seem to be more caring than most, and
Well, I don't know. I think we're all very caring here, apart from the new forest warden. But she's from the city, so they're different there. They're different in the city. As you know, you saw the city. It's
I know.
great.
It's very different out here, and I like it. It's a little bit like home, but not quite.
Indeed. Well, you do mention your island. I don't think there are any islands. Are you sure you aren't from somewhere? Well, we don't really know where you were from, so
I'm quite certain it's an island, and I'm
right.
very well learned as to the fact that it was an island. We don't quite know where it was in relation to this place, but it's there.
Right.
And I'm sure that when the time is right, that the Great One will guide me home.
Of course, yes, of course. That's probably what will happen.
Right, I'm gonna go and see if they're up.
Very well.
But so you remember the things I taught you about how to make the bandages properly and the potions and all the rest of it?
Yes.
And I'm very grateful for your skills with the poultices and things like that. That's very useful. I much appreciate that. And if we find more, I'm going to send them sort of this way. So I would appreciate if you could liaise with Aeltis and make sure that they keep a watch on the wastes for any more coming this way.
We will do that exactly, because that's what you've told us to expect, so that's what we're going to expect.
So just very sort of unexpected. They would probably be very used to this, but he's just going to pull them into a big hug.
Yeah, they're still not like completely happy about it, but they go with it. And a friend's hug. That's lovely.
And sort of he would give them both a small sort of leather sort of bracelet type thing, but he's taken 2 of the crystal beads from that were hanging on his staff, and he's threaded them onto them, and basically just presents them to them both.
These are beautiful. Thank you so much. They are genuinely pleased with these and wear them immediately.
Yeah, as a token, and sort of if they look at them, there's a tiny little sort of dragon's head carved into the beads. Well, I thought you might as well have a memento. I don't know how long it's going to be before I pass back this way again, but I just want you to know that I really appreciate the.
Well, we
the
appreciate you, friends. You have been incredibly helpful while you've been here, and we will miss you when you leave. But hopefully you will come back to us.
I hope that I will as well, but I believe that what I was sent here for isn't there. It's not here anymore. I think I need to journey on, as it were.
Everybody needs to go where they feel they are needed.
Right. Well, I'm going to let you two crack on with your day, and I'm going to go and see if they're up yet. Look,
Okay.
I've never seen anybody drink like that before.
No, that is worrying. Very worrying.
That they can drink that much and still be alive. Oh, that's so righteous.
It doesn't seem reasonable, does it?
I mean,
as you make your way back to the tree where the sleeping quarters, you see most of the dwarves are up and about, with variously ranging from no ill effects whatsoever to slight grumbling that there isn't bacon. That's it.
Good morning.
We're all going, oh, morning. You're right.
Yes. Did you enjoy the festivities?
Well, it was a bit quiet, wasn't it? You know, it's not a proper party, was it? It wasn't enough drink, to be fair.
Well, I'm sure that if you ask for more, they can provide more.
Oh yeah, I've already had a word with one of the elves. Said they're going to make a new batch up, so I'm going to help.
That could be quite a little bit of an inn, and I mean, you could see if they've got the equipment to see if you can brew some of your own beer and things like that. I mean, they were quite accommodating.
Sounds like
And
a plan.
I think they could share how they make theirs. You could share how you make yours, and maybe
Well, let's
make
not get carried away now. You know, some of these breweries are, family secrets and all that. You don't want to be giving that away. That would be a silly thing to do. You don't mind sharing when it's made. We're going to share how it's made.
That's fair. I see where you're coming from. That
Yorick,
seems fair.
you walk out to this conversation. You can see I think it's young Fergal having this conversation, which is one of Gus's very young cousins that's just become a cleric. And so Yorick, you would say that, right? You wouldn't share how you make something, but you'd be happy to share it after you've made it, right? Like with beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying I'd share the beer, but not like the brewing process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, and that's fair, isn't it?
That's perfectly fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
See
mean,
this tall fella here. Sorry, I don't know your name.
My name's Ferenz.
Right. So this Ferenz fella, he was getting all sort of we showed the elves how to brew beer, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, that doesn't seem right. So I don't know about that.
Ooh.
It was just a suggestion. I mean, you don't have to do it.
I think we will not do that.
Yeah, right. Because
That's fine.
the best thing you do for everyone is for us to make the beer, and then the elves to buy it, and the elves to make the whatever it is elves make, trees or whatever, and then we buy it off them, and then everyone's got a whole thing going on, and everyone's valuable. I think.
You mean trading?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But if we just go and give away our recipes for the beer, then no one needs to buy it. They just make their own.
But I made the suggestion saying that they could show you how they make their brews, and you could show you them. But never mind, it's fine. It was just a suggestion, and I also suggested that maybe they ask for equipment, and then they could start brewing their own beer if that's what they wanted to do.
Right. I don't think it works like that. It's fine though. You're right. Sorry. Is there any breakfast?
It will be along shortly. Just give it a few minutes, and I'm sure that plenty will be along.
As this is being spoken about, you can see there are a couple of elves laying platters onto the table that was used last night. There are fruits, berries. There are some what looks like venison cuts, possibly. Who knows? But yeah, there are various different things for breakfast. And one of them says, well, we weren't quite sure what would be needed after last night's drinking. So there's plenty of water, and there are some some of the more sugar-laden fruit might be good for energy, perhaps.
Bacon.
Lots, I mean, lots of meat with it would probably go down quite well.
Well, there is some venison, but we could.
What you need is something greasy. Do you have any sort of oil that you cook with?
No. we tend to roast the meat.
No wonder you lot are so skinny.
Sorry.
It's not an insult. It's fine.
No.
Right.
I see.
Okay. I will. Interesting. Oil. Any particular kind of oil?
For frying stuff, neutral oils are good. Sunflower, vegetable oil.
Right. I see. Okay.
You should speak to the old fella. He's the cook. He'll tell you how to make a bacon sandwich.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe that's a good start. I will certainly do that. But in the meantime, we have there is some porridge and some barley and all sorts of interesting nuts as well. All high protein foods.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Very welcome. You see, as they leave you to look upon this. Well, not really a feat. There's a lot of it. It's just not really what you're used to. You know, after a night of heavy drinking, you need a bacon sandwich, but there is no such thing here. So it's a bit disappointing. But even so, the rest of you join in whenever you feel like it.
So I would have probably slept in a little bit because I'm still getting used to this sleeping
business. Yeah.
First thing I would do is when I get up, I would look in the mirror.
You look like an elf.
Okay. If I touch my face, do I feel my beard?
Nope. Actually, make a wisdom saving throw. See if Balo's concentrating.
Saving.
Yeah.
17.
17. Yeah, you sort of look at yourself in the mirror, and then you can feel a beard that isn't in the mirror.
Okay. What I'll do is remember what Florian and Celeste said to me last night about me definitely being a dwarf. I will leave the pod and I'll walk to breakfast, but I'll be holding onto my beard for reassurance to remind myself. Like a comfort blanket.
A comfort beard. Nice.
Comfort beard, there you go.
I'd been out pretty early as well, like I normally do, just working out and all of that.
Sure. Okay. And Celeste, obviously, you had your rest.
Yeah, I would have been up before Florian because, you know.
Yeah.
Elf.
4 hours. Yeah. Okay, so everybody makes their way to the central area where the table is laid out with all of this beautiful food. The dwarven children are again excitable, and some of them are just sort of. Most of them are just sort of sitting with Bridris. They seem to have taken to her, and she's taken to them. It appears to be that's some friendships that's going to last forever there. They're eating breakfast. Bridris is throwing bits of venison up in the air and scorching them on the way down, and then eating them, which is causing great delight to the children and great concern to some of the elders.
Do I still have problems with my perception?
Not as much as you did. It's still a bit odd.
When I go to sit down, do I judge things wrong? If I was to sit down because I think I'm shorter
with
than
your
I am.
wisdom saving throw, as long as you're holding onto your beard, you get it. You kind of sort of gingerly sit yourself down and get the height right for your actual body rather than your elven imaginary body.
I'm probably just whispering under. I look like a dwarf. I look like a dwarf.
Your mantra.
I am dwarf. I am a dwarf. So,
Morning, Trocket. Did you have a good night last night?
I look around and sort of sigh and go, morning, Yorick.
Morning.
Morning.
Keep working on it.
Do you like my beard?
It's a very nice beard.
You can see it, yeah?
I can see your beard. Are you all right? Did the booze and the change of, has that affected you funny? Are you all right?
I'm fine. I'm a dwarf.
Yes, mate. You're a dwarf.
Sort of. I mean, yes, I am. I'll just stare at Yorick.
Did you need some England or something?
I'm all right. I'm just tired. Like, sleeping is new. I think.
Yeah, sleeping's nice, isn't it?
And I'll just let go of my beard with one hand and just start eating the venison with the other.
Okay.
But still keeping one hand firmly on the beard.
obviously, yeah, because otherwise, it's a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
Probably using it to guide where my mouth is.
ah. It's a dwarven mouth opener, is what it is.
Yeah.
So, the breakfast passes in its usual manner, and Tharahilda and Thumma approach you, Yorick, and Gus and Sprocket. And Tharahilda, so about the others, like, what's the plan, Yorick? Should we, like, because Fergal, he's like keen to get like a search party back up and go back to the mountains and just to see who we can rescue, like.
Yeah.
Because he said
I really want to do
Sorry.
that too, but I spoke to Riox last night, and he said that our priority should be to just stop the war completely.
Right. Okay. And Thumma goes, it's very wise. That's a good idea, but I'm not saying that Riox doesn't know what he's talking about, but I think we should cover all bases.
Okay.
We should perhaps, because young Fergal seems very keen, perhaps a few of us could go back to the mountain and see if there are any more refugees. We can guide them here now we know the way.
I think that's a very good idea.
I thought you'd think that, Gus. You've always been the clever one, haven't you?
Have indeed.
And she looks across at you, Yorgos. But you're the pretty one, aren't you? So, I think that's what we'll do. Young Tharahilda here will lead the party with Fergal. And maybe we'll send another couple with him. Small party, you don't want to get too much attention drawn to, just in case that big old Sapphire's about.
You need to make sure you're nice and stealthy.
Quite. That's why I'm not going to go this time. I'm going to stay here to make sure everybody does as they're told with these elves. Because we don't want to be upsetting them.
Yep.
So
that makes sense to me.
They've been very kind, and they've looked after us very well. So I think, as a mark of respect, as the oldest, I should be staying here and talking to them and talking to their forest warden.
I think that's a very good idea.
Well, of course you do, Gus. It was one of my ideas. You always think all my ideas are great.
Yes,
Always have. It's a sign of intelligence, that is.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, do you mind if I interrupt?
Do you speak Dwarvish?
Are you speaking Dwarvish?
They are speaking Dwarvish.
course.
Yes.
Oh, I thought they'd be. Oh, it's because of like last night, everyone was able to kind of comprehend everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
She
So
sort of
don't
looks up and
worry.
goes, "Well, young man, you could certainly interrupt, of course. What would you like to be singing?"
It makes no difference. I can't interrupt, so I wouldn't have heard them saying what they said, so I wouldn't have done it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Right, so we'll do that then. Is we'll get young Thorahilda here and young Fergal, and they'll get up and get a party together and go back up to the mountain. Is that right? And what are you going to be doing, Yorick?
We need to try and speak to some dragon that might be able to end this war.
Well, I don't want to talk out of turn here. Well, I can't. I'm the oldest. So, you've got a dragon over there. She points
Yep.
at Bridris.
Aye, but Bridris is only a little baby.
I know, but it's a dragon. So it can talk to the other dragons. So that's what you need to do is start talking. I'm not talking go and find that sapphire. But you need to find another one. Not a sapphire, some other kind. Maybe another onyx one. That'd be the best if you could. And get them talking. Right?
Where do we go to do that? Are we going back to the mountains as well then?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what your plan is.
I'll talk to Fren, see if he has any thoughts.
Righto. So, we're going to get organised. She sort of gathers up Thorahilda and Fergal and takes them, start sort of planning their trip back to the mountains. So, what would the rest of you like to do?
Gone.
No, I was just going to turn back to everyone else, assuming you all sat round,
Yeah, pretty much.
and pull up a chair, the wrong way round, Will Riker style. Sit down. Right then. So, our next mission needs to be to try and find a dragon that we can talk to. To firstly try and end this war and save some dwarven and dragon lives. But secondly, to try and see if we can get the dragons on side, because there's going to be a big fight and we might need them.
Is there going to be a big fight? You didn't tell me that.
I guess it's what we've been heading towards all along.
Is it? I thought we were just adventuring.
Are there particular kinds of dragon that would be more interested in communicating first and eating us second?
Well, not Sapphire.
Yes, I rather gathered that from our last encounter, but
I mean, if we could find like a big Bridris, that would be good.
If I might interject a little bit here. Now, if we manage to stumble across, say, a gold dragon, that might be a good start. Or even a silver, they seem to be more, well, at least the book said that they seem to be a bit more reasonable sorts.
Wait, do we have those sorts of dragons? I
I've
thought
never
we
read
just
a
got
gold or silver one. We've only got crystal ones here.
Yeah, never heard of golds or silvers. They're all just gem based.
Right. Well, if you tell me what there is, I can probably go through my book and I can maybe be able to give you a good start.
Well, they're all sort of gem based, you see. So we met Sapphire. So
Right.
there's going to be
Because you got
onyx ones like Drifterus and probably jade ones and ruby ones and stuff.
Friends,
Would I have an
as you
idea?
look at the dwarves, they are literally covered in gem-studded armour
Mhm.
with all kinds of different gems. They got rubies, sapphires, emeralds.
Yeah. Do I have an inkling of where would be the best place to start with from a this dragon's likely to be more reasonable, or
Um,
at least listen before trying to eat us?
Make a quick history check.
Ooh, okay. 16.
16. Casting your mind back to school, it was generally you were taught that all the gem dragons are wise and powerful, and occasionally ones like the sapphires have got tempers and they must be mollified. You're kind of looking for sort of like citrine, diamond, probably not emerald, sapphire waste, maybe a ruby, depending on what kind of age it is. So the older ones probably better than the youngers.
Yeah. You sort of right. And he'd be muttering in sort of like this weird mix of celestial and draconic.
Yeah, Gus, you pick words out that he's saying, but
And I'll pick the other words out.
yeah, it's
I'll look like a dog.
Or some of the words are kind of half and shunted together in a very, like, what would be to you a very odd way. But it's, and then right, I reckon that we start with maybe a diamond or a citrine. Now, the older the better. But that would probably be a good place to start. Maybe a ruby if we had to. But I would probably avoid the emeralds and the sapphires to begin with. They have gnarly temperaments. Really quite gnarly.
Are all dragons found in the mountains?
Well, I don't know, I'm not from here.
Yeah.
I mean,
What?
as far as we know, yep, because none of these lot have ever heard of dragons before, and they've never been to the mountains before.
I
so,
mean, I've heard of dragons, but they're slightly different from where I come from. Did I
And I
have
had heard of
roles?
dragons, but we thought they went out with the gods.
Right.
Who do what?
We knew the tales. We knew the tales of these dragons. We just didn't know they were still around.
yeah, dragons do have big tails.
Well, we need to decide whether we're going to stay here on Whispering because it's just us, or but we've only our pass, runs out today. We either have to go to the city, or we have to leave the forest.
Well, if you want to speak to a dragon, then clearly, and they live in the mountains, then logic says that we go to the mountains.
Yeah,
That's where we've got to go.
I think our pass only was for the forest, and if the city's in the forest, we have to leave today.
And
Well, the city's the other side of the forest. How far away is the city from
where you are. It's a good 5-6 days journey.
Well, we wouldn't make it.
Right. I've just realised that I'm being a bit presumptuous as well. So, if it's okay with you, I would like to accompany you to the mountains because I believe I could be a bit of a help with the dragons. And
Yeah, no,
I believe that, that's where I'm supposed to be going.
It's always good to go where you're supposed to be going.
I
If
think
where
I
you're
think
not
so.
supposed to be going, you get in trouble.
You really are quite intelligent, Gus. I
Yeah,
really
people
do
keep
think so.
telling me that today.
Right. Well, obviously, it's true. You are really quite intelligent. I think you have some fantastic ideas.
You listening, Yorick?
I know, it's because you only had 13 beers last night, isn't it? You need to keep your head clearer.
Before we do leave, though, Celeste, as you seem to have an affinity with the elves here, maybe you could ask them for a few supplies, what we may need, just to help us on our journey?
I think that they would be willing to do that regardless of me.
No, I think it'd be a very good idea if you talk to them, and I look at Celeste and I make like wide eyes, like I need to talk to you eyes. But I'm not very good at this whole thing.
Celeste, your passive perception, you know exactly what's going on with Trellador. He desperately wants to talk to you. Everybody else notices that Trellador desperately wants to talk to Celeste as well.
I would assume that I would have already made arrangements for us to have the supplies to be ready for us when we leave, or at least there to be something on hand.
Yeah, I mean, getting supplies to leave is not going to be an issue.
What about other refugees?
Well, if we're going back into the mountains, I suppose if we come across them, we tell them the path, the dangers, and where to head to.
Well, some of the dwarfs were already going as well, so they're going to look for more refugees and guide them in.
My friends are going to work with Miss Iotis, and she's going to keep an eye on the edge of the forest for us, and they're going to be aware and be ready to welcome in any others that make it across the waste. Mr. Yorick, I would probably tell that if your party of dwarves who are going to go out looking for more, I would probably tell them to speak to Miss Iotis, because either she can keep an eye on them, or she might even be able to give them a couple of her elves to accompany them to help and guide them back. It's worth asking.
Yep.
Here's a question though: is there any way to get back to the mountains without going through that bloody fiery place? Because that was horrible.
Not really, not this far north. No.
Fair enough.
How long did it take us to traverse that?
It was about half a day, wasn't it? Or a day?
It was about
Because
a
we
day.
didn't sleep there.
Because you were going to sleep there, so it was just over a day.
I don't want to cause you any more pain or anguish, Yarick, but I don't suppose you've got a way where you could possibly contact people you know what could possibly still be in the mountains, just to give them a heads up of where to go and how to get out? I mean, you seem to be able to speak to Briox quite freely. Granted, he is your deity, but he spoke to Burgle, was it? To tell him to meet us where we were?
It's funny you should say that. It appears I've had the sending spell prepared for quite a while.
Have you never used it?
It's probably just near your healing spells.
Wow.
So why would you
Yeah.
look there?
There's a whole section that Martin hasn't looked at.
Exactly.
It doesn't do damage, so therefore, why would he cast it?
Yeah.
I know that. I don't know how you use your ways, but I'm just hoping that if there's anybody you can contact to spread the word, it could make the expedition to the forest a bit quicker for all the dwarves.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try and send a message to me dad. I've not heard anything from him. He must still be up there.
Yeah, maybe stay away from the people. Well, I say the people, the dwarves that may be connected to the ones that were after you and Gus.
Well, we don't really know who that was. And that was kind of before the war started. I think that's less of a priority then.
Yeah, I suppose so. But yeah, just a thought if you can.
Maybe we can leave some kind of note on the wall, so if dwarves come upon it and it's written in Dwarvish, then they can get some information from that and try and find their way to the edge of the forest if they're not found by others before then.
Sounds like a good idea, but I'd rather not leave a paper trail for the dwarves or anybody else to find, and even put the elves in danger as well, even though they are pretty well guarded here. There's a lot of people looking for us, and a lot of big things looking for the dwarves.
It wouldn't have to mention us at all. It would just be a note to the dwarven refugees, just pointing them in the right direction.
I don't really want to. I disagree with that because that would put the elven forest in danger, and I don't really want to put these people in more danger than they're already in by taking in refugees. Thank you very much. And if these
Yeah,
dragons,
it's a nice idea, Celeste, but I think there's too much risk with that.
Of course, I wouldn't want anyone endangered.
We haven't got anything we can give to the dwarves while they're going out for another look, have we? Anything that we're not using? Anything that could be of help to them? Anything we've picked up along our way? I mean, I have nothing, but apart from a healing potion, but I'm sure they'd get what they can from the elves, but I just don't want to leave the elves to do everything. We've been here to help and do stuff as well.
I mean, for the most part, I've already taken most of the preparations in hand. There's not really a lot to do, to be honest with you. They will be able to get what they need to take with them at least, and make their way back.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying, like, see, Yarrick had a ring what allowed him to walk on water, but he hasn't used. If we've got anything like that, obviously there's no water about here, but to help them be protected a bit more or less seen.
So you think that a ring that allows you to walk on water would be useful in the fire wastes?
That's exactly what I just said. No, I don't think it will, but something similar. I don't do magics, but if something protective could be created, maybe that would help.
Right. I have a healing potion, and I have the dagger that was left of me by Snow. That's all.
I ain't got much.
Gus, Yorick, you would know that the dwarves, if they're putting a party together to go out, they don't really... Anything they need, they should be able to get from the elves. They came out fairly well equipped. And with help from the elves, as has been suggested, this should be enough for them to be able to traverse the fire wastes and find people.
Yeah, they know what to expect.
Yeah,
because
I mean, they've been trick hunters their entire lives, most of them. So they know how to avoid dragons and stuff. So...
Yeah, completely. I was just thinking that I wouldn't have known what equipment they've got on them and what it does and stuff like that, so...
That's fair. I'm just pointing out that Gus would know that type of thing.
I think they'll be fine. Don't you worry about them.
In addition to equipping the dwarven party, is there anything that we could avail of in case we are dragged further into the fire wastes than we intend?
Well...
Lots of water, I think.
I was thinking, I mean, I can... As part of the things I was asking Celeste if she could get was going to be top-ups for my herbalism kit, because I can create healing potions. Maybe if we can get some... I don't know, if they're made... Well, I suppose I would know if I know about how to create healing potions and that, and a bit about alchemy in that respect. Yeah, I suppose I would. So, back to Florian. Maybe we can get some like fire-resistant potions or something. The damage the dragons do, we can be a bit resistant against, just in case.
Or just something to tolerate the heat. I am not looking forward to having to go there again.
I mean, there are some spells that can help with that, but it would only be on an individual rather than a whole party.
Well, I suppose Miette is wearing a fur coat, so that would be her we need to help there, wouldn't it? I mean, yeah, it was really hot, but it wasn't that bad for me. No different than being in the hot springs, really.
No.
Except it was not as wet.
I'm just thinking we've been travelling for some time and bouncing from place to place and scavenging and picking stuff up. If we got the opportunity to possibly get a bit extra. Obviously for nothing. Services rendered, whatever it would cost, just to help us along the way. It's going to be tough trying to end this war and stop the end of the world.
I can summon
Are we
the
gonna-
owls again if we want to move quicker across the plains. They only last an hour at a time, but it would cut our journey a little.
I think that would be again last resort. We didn't want to use them just so we didn't get seen by any other dragons.
True, but now we're looking for them.
Very good point, yeah.
I'm not sure where we would find a citrine and a diamond, did you say, friends?
Yeah, I think it's
Would we know where to look for those sorts of dragons?
You would know their kind of basic habitats. You would know that the sapphires like to burrow, for example. Diamonds, you haven't seen a diamond. Nobody's seen a diamond for a long time. Citrines used to be quite common, sort of yellowy style. But again, you've not seen any for a while. It's mainly been sort of sapphires, emeralds, and rubies that you guys have been dealing with. But you know there used to be about. But when you, but the dwarves do produce diamonds and citrines. Hint, hint. Look at backstory. Hint, hint. Remember that. Yeah, you've completely forgotten all about that, haven't you, James? Yeah, I can see that.
Oh, what, you mean the secret room underground where they
That's
murder
the
little
one.
baby dragons? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't forgotten about that. But
Okay.
I was thinking how that could help us right now, unless we go and rescue all the baby dragons. Oh, we could go and rescue all the baby dragons.
I think that'd be a good peace offering.
Oh, that's a good idea. I told you I'd have another good idea, didn't I?
What about if we're struggling to think of, you know,
Is anyone
when,
going to say what baby dragons? Because nobody knows my backstory.
Yeah.
Apart from Yorick.
Mr. Goose, why would we have to rescue baby dragons? Why?
Oh. Well, right. So one of the reasons we left.
I'm assuming this is something to do with how you ended up with Bridris?
Yes. Right. So what happened was, see, it feels really shameful now, but we were told it was the right thing to do. But we used to hunt dragons because we were told they were evil and nasty and they were going to kill all the dwarves. So we were dragon hunters. That's what we were. But then we were out one day, or I was out one day. We were out one day because you were there as well, Yorick, weren't you?
I was there, yeah.
And this big old dragon got killed and landed nearby me, and it said to me in my head, it said, "Look after my baby, don't let them get it." And I found the egg and I stuck it in my backpack, and one of the laws is that if you find an egg, you have to take it back and give it to the priests, and then you get a bounty. And I went back meaning to give it to him because, I'm a good boy. But when I went to find them, I went down underneath the city, and there was this big room where they were hatching baby dragons and then rearing them till they got crystals and then slaughtering them and just farming them for crystals. And it made me sick to my stomach. And I ran away quickly and I got Yorick and we just left and took Bridris with us. It was an egg at the time, but we took it with us, and that became Bridris. That's how I became Bridris's mum.
The longer Gus talks, the tighter Forensi's grip on his staff becomes, and just white fire engulfs his entire fist.
But what you got to remember is we didn't know this. All the dwarves didn't know this. This was a big secret. We were told there was no one outside the mountains. It was all barren wastelands. We were told there was no other peoples. When we got out there and we saw all these humans, these elves and these tabaxins and everything, and it was like shock and horror. And like, who are all these funny people? And what are they doing here? They're not meant to exist because we've been lied to all our life.
When people have that kind of power over you, they can shape what you see of the world so easily. But I think rescuing those babies would be a good idea.
I think so. If we can head back to our home, and then we can go down there and see if we can rescue them, and then we can take them with us and let them go and start the peace process. That would be really good.
What about?
Gus, when you
Sorry.
said that these baby dragons are harvested for their crystals, do you mean like the ones on your armor and Yorick's armor?
I don't have any crystals on my armor anymore because
Oh,
I've got
but
white hydra scales. But yes, that's what we're talking about.
is that where all gems come from?
Yes. Even like those gems you're wearing, Melissa. Those all come from dead dragons.
You know, just when I thought my family couldn't get any worse.
Although
I don't think you can claim any further shame from this story than
we feel right now.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but
gems didn't always need to come from dead dragons. They periodically shed, and that's the way that they were harvested in the old times. It was the dragons gave the sheddings as, and Friends has visibly got tears in his eyes. Gave them as gifts. These were, these were offerings to show their connection between all living creatures and the land. And I'm not angry with you two. I mean, you're trying to make a difference, and you're trying to atone for your past deeds, and that's admirable. It's just that I don't like dragons being treated like this. I mean, I've been essentially raised among a people who revere dragons, and we've got a very personal relationship with one. I don't like the violence, and I understand that the dragons are killing people as well, and that needs to stop. But I understand why, and but it does need to stop. We need to stop the cycle. It's a cycle of killing that won't end until we can find a way to stop it. But I think Gus has got a good idea there. Another one there, Gus. Good. I
Yep.
I think freeing the wormlings would be a good start, at least.
But what we've got to do is you mustn't forget, like us, 99% of the dwarves don't know this. They're all been lied to, and it's only seems to be the small amount that have been doing all this nasty stuff. So, we can't blame all the dwarves for this because this is what we were told.
Well, your elders, what was her name? Summer?
Yeah.
She, I mean, she trusted you two because of your decisions. And maybe, if you can try and convince more of your people in the same way, maybe that's the way forward.
Yeah, I think that's the way.
But
With my brains and his beauty, we'll be fine.
But these priests, do you think they're going to fight us to try and? Because I mean, I don't really like fighting. I mean, I will if I'm forced to, but I don't like fighting.
Well, dwarves are generally quite stubborn. If they think we're taking away their power, then I think they probably will. But to me, they're the monsters now, and we're monster hunters.
But don't these priests worship Mr. Reorgs the same way that you do?
Well,
And if
they should be, but if Reox is telling us there should be a peace between the dragons and the dwarves, and they're not doing it, then they're not worshipping Reox proper, are they?
There's a common occurrence in Dar where preachers and that will profess to follow the teachings that they're espousing just to get the tithe from the followers, but in truth they don't follow that at all. their only worship is money and power.
That feels very familiar here.
I think that's
That
what's
may
going
well
on.
be the case.
We will give them every chance to change their ways, but if
Well,
not, then there will be
you're
consequences.
a proper Reorx follower, and if he says they're baddies, then we're going to smite them. And if he says
Well,
it is, then we'll welcome him in.
as far as I'm concerned, it's the actions of the small minority of dwarves that have led to all of this. Could well have led to the destruction of our people as a whole. So, yeah, they need taken down.
If it's all the same, I'm going to try and show him the light.
All right. What, like
Okay.
the light balls you made last night? You're going to give him some of them?
No, I'm going to make them have a realization, show them the light, bring them into the fold of liking dragons, and if they don't, then...
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. I just didn't know what you were talking about. I thought showing them in a light, you just look up at the sun.
You know what? Maybe Mithiatis has got a thing, got a, he's onto something there, that maybe I need to think about how I talk to people.
Oh, I think you talk fine. Just a bit confusing sometimes.
That's what I mean.
But I have that problem with other people as well.
I quite understand that, Mr. Gus. You are quite intelligent. I understand why people
I
might
know,
not
it's just
understand.
people just can't keep up with my brain. It's just too fast.
I know, it's so, oh, so righteous. I'm so happy. Right, so now let's move this on along a little bit because we've been spending most of our morning chatting away, but I think if we're going to move, we need to move.
Yeah.
Just one other idea. I don't know if this has been pressed upon before, Gus, but Bridris had a bit of a home from home at one point, didn't she? And he didn't want her to go back there, so she went back to the mountains. I don't suppose you
No.
asked her if she's met any other
She didn't
dragons.
go back to the mountains. She sort of goes somewhere else. I don't know quite where. It's
Oh,
not sort of, I don't know. It's because dragons is a bit magical as well, you see. They can do things we can't do. And she just goes somewhere.
is it worth asking if she has, before any of this happened, spoke to or saw any of these citrine or...
Nope, she's only ever seen that big one in the sky. We tried to talk to her and it threatened to eat her.
Okay, it's just an idea, just to make sure we've covered every avenue, but okay.
So,
Sprocket, may I have a word with you?
I'm quite busy, but all right then.
I love that accent.
Is Sprocket still standing there like this on his beard?
Yeah, with one hand. Because he's eating with the other. All right then. Do you want to come back to my pod?
Certainly.
I mean, that's a line. I want to come back to my pod.
You'll see
Could-
Florian
could
roll
be
his
two
eyes,
peas
but
in
in
their
like
pod.
a sarcastic manner.
Excellent. So,
Go in.
Celestin, whatever his name is currently, go to the pod where he spent the night.
Right. Right. Now down to that stupid one. You said that I should talk to you if I want help or need something.
Of course.
I've noticed you like to know things.
I mean, I don't deliberately go out of my way to try and listen. I just happen to have particularly good hearing.
I have well, if you're up for it, I have a little challenge for whilst you're sorting out supplies and stuff. That lady, the name rings a bell, and something I remember from being a child. But she's not a druid. And I
So
want to
I
know
have heard.
why she is in charge of the forest. I don't know much about her.
Make a
I just know the
deception check.
name.
Make a deception check.
Oh, please be good.
Against your insight, please. Celeste.
Against a druid healer's insight.
I rolled
rolled
low.
I rolled quite good for once.
13.
Deception 17 minus 1, 16.
16. Okay, carry on.
She's something of a powerful mage. We got taught about her in school. But the fact that she's ventured outside of the city and is now ruling over, being warden of the forest is interesting. And you like a bit of gossip, and you're an elf, and you're quite revered and have connections. Well, you don't have connections yet, but because you're a bit of clout, because you're very respected here. So maybe you could find out what she's doing here.
May I ask why you want to know?
Well, it's always worth keeping an eye about what's going on at home.
Tell it all.
Rocket. Yes, you had a question? You don't just say people's name and stop. That's what Florian does. It's very annoying. Are you going to do it or not? You don't have to do it.
Maybe one day you'll actually say what you mean. I will find out for you, but...
Well, it's not for me. It's just for, I think it might aid us. She's a very powerful woman. I read about her in my text thing.
Of course.
She obviously, if we come back here, it's better to be equipped, don't you think?
Of course.
Right. Go be nosy. In your own way, your own skill, of course.
Okay. So, I'm assuming that conversation is over and you go back and rejoin the group?
Yeah. I'll go back. So,
Okay. So, Ealtus, as you come back to the group, Ealtus is saying, well, Madame Miette, I believe there were some restrictions on certain of your party members, which will
Yes, of course. We
cease to
were
be covered
just
if
preparing
you
to
wish.
leave.
Yes, indeed. The Lady Phelan was quite emphatic about not overstaying. It's not from me, you understand. She is the forest warden.
No, no.
Therefore, we must.
I understand.
We must follow her lead.
Of course,
She's
I
the
would not
forest warden.
presume to question the newly appointed forest warden, who apparently rules over the entire forest, yes?
Rules over is a bit strong. She has responsibility for, or the forest warden has responsibility for the forest and the environs and the boundaries and the well-being of all its inhabitants.
And all of the people who pass through it.
And all of the people who pass through it. Normally that
see.
is not a problem. Normally we are here in the forest. We welcome everyone and we want to look after and nurture and make sure that everybody is having a wonderful experience at life. This is what the Great Forest of Drummond is about. We want to share the bountiful beauty of the forest with everyone who comes in contact with it. But
And
obviously there have to
noble
be
it is.
boundaries, obviously, to protect from outside evils, shall we say.
Of course.
Internal evils, however, are slightly more tricky to protect against.
Is Aotis the one who was speaking to me last night?
Aeltus, yes, she's the one that the ranger that found you, the druid ranger that found you on the edge of the forest, and summoned the lady and came and talked to you last night. So
Yes, we'll lean in conspiratorially. I know I don't much like politics either.
it's frankly beyond me. I'm not. I'm not a politician. I want to be
Just
in
your job and get on with
the
things.
forest. Exactly. So, bearing that in mind, we do need to sort of try to make an exit towards the edge of the forest before Lady Phelan's wards wear off and your companions start to experience negative effects
Some
of the
discomfort.
sprites.
Yes. Of course. We shall start moving towards the boundary.
Perfect. And your plans? You're going... So I know where to take you to.
Oh, we're going back towards the mountains for the moment. There will also be a secondary dwarf party going out to seek more refugees.
They did speak about that. This is, and I'm going to lend them a couple of my rangers to guide them through the forest and to go with them through the fire wastes, as it is a fairly dangerous place.
Most uncomfortable.
It is indeed most uncomfortable. But we have something that I think you and your party will enjoy once you leave the forest. Trust me, it'll be... you will experience a well-being from your night in the forest as you leave the forest for some time.
Wonderful.
So, hopefully you will enjoy and get benefit from. So, is there anything anybody would like to do before you start out for the edge of the forest? Yorick.
Hey, Gus.
Yeah.
Florian got me thinking about something. I can send messages. I can talk to people over a long distance. So I'm gonna send my dad a message.
That's a good idea. Get him to get the family, and they can come here.
Well, I think I can only send him a short message.
Oh.
I'm just gonna tell him that we've got some people here and that we're going to the mountains.
Okay, you're gonna tell him we're going to Daggold or whether we're going what?
Well, I'll just say I'm going to the mountains or something.
All right, no worries. You're gonna tell him we're gonna make a peace with the dragons.
Well, I haven't got time to. I haven't got all the words. But if he messages back, then maybe I can, open a dialogue with him or something. But I've not seen him since we ran away, so I don't know really what to expect.
Might give you a good telling off.
Probably.
Glad I can't hear it.
Right. All right. Let me think. And I'm gonna just hold on to my holy symbol and just sort of stand there all proper straight, like so. I'm gonna just close my eyes and reach out and think about him. And obviously, don't know where he is, but just try to connect through the ether or whatever. Say, "Hi, Dad. It's Yorick. Hope you, Mum, and Cordana are right. I've helped some dwarves to Elven Forest. Are you in the mountains? Be there soon."
We had two more.
Two words left. Nope, that's it.
Nope. I wrote it in a Word document and it tells me it's 25 words.
Okay,
Oh.
fair enough. I was just counting
Yes,
fingers,
covered.
so okay. So after a little while, you get a response. Yorick? Where the bloody hell have you been? You disappear, and then you message me out of nowhere. I'm very disappointed. Yes, I'm in the mountains. Yes, your mum and everything is safe. But we're planning on leaving. So, we'll go to... I think that's my lot.
Because I think we're in a bit of trouble.
What did he say?
He's very disappointed.
What
Yeah, he's in the mountains. My mum and sister are alright.
That's good. Did
And
you write my mum?
no, I'll do that on the next message, but I think I'll give him a bit to call off.
All right.
I just need to tell him I'm on a mission from God. Like the Blues Brothers or something.
Tell him then.
All I
don't
can
know,
see
you
now
know.
in my head is Gus driving the car, Yorick sitting next to him going, we're on a mission from God, and he's like, and Gus is like, L word. Awesome.
I don't know. You know what it's like. Like you come out here and you do all these crazy things, and people look up to you, and you feel really strong and powerful, and then you speak to one of your parents, and you feel like a little kid again.
I know. But you are big and strong and powerful.
I know.
And I'll give him a slap. Put yourself together. You're a dwarf, not a stone worm. Yeah, they're the worms that burrow in the stones in the mountains that cause things to collapse. I just made that up, but there you go.
No, I'm totally here for it. Stoneworms are now a thing.
Cannon.
Absolutely.
It's a terrible insult to a dwarf.
Sounded it.
And as we know, when James says things, they tend to stick.
Yes, we do, don't we, Sprocket? So,
Rock-a-lock-a-ding-dong.
is there anything else anybody else would like to do before you start to move towards the edge of the forest?
I would like to try and speak to... forgotten her name again.
Ealtis.
Ealtis. And I'm going to try and see if she understands Druidic.
She does. She's a druid.
Okay. So it just means it's less likely that people are going to be able to understand this unless they're druids, so...
Okay.
I know
Are
we
you
had...
walking before... Are you having this conversation
as
before
we're
you leave,
walking.
or are you leaving and having this conversation?
Having this conversation as she's walking
Okay.
with us.
All right. No problem.
If I may ask some questions?
Of course. Is there a reason for druidic? Are we being at risk of being overheard? Is this a conversation that's...
I
Never
just
mind,
want
sorry,
this
too many questions.
to remain between the two of us for now.
Very
If
well.
that's okay.
Of course.
I know you said last night that you were interested in myself becoming the warden of this forest, but...
Well, I merely asked because the gossip going around was that an elder druid appearing could have a portent of the forest warden becoming a druid once more.
Is the current warden not up to standards?
She is, and she sort of looks about really quickly. She is not a druid, which is unusual, and she is not. Well, she does not reside in the forest, she resides in the city. Now, many years ago, when the city was first built, we would go to the city in winter to get together and then disperse amongst the forest again. But recently there have been more and more people staying in the city, and there are schools, and younger elves get educated in the ways of the arcane rather than druidic magic. And it sometimes feels there is a big divide between the two. And the Forest Warden, as I said, has always been of the forest. The Forest Warden cares deeply, or should, for the forest and all of its inhabitants, be they elves or squirrels or sprites or birds or visiting dwarves or anyone that has no ill towards the forest.
Lady Phelan does seem a little less enthusiastic.
She is. Her husband is quite important in the city, but the city is not as important as the forest to all elves, not just myself. I know I'm biased, but the forest is
one of the
important part for this. If the city was there or not, the forest will still be here. So to be Warden of the Forest is the premier position in our society. And while the Lord Phelan is important in the city, no titles in the city are as important as the Forest Warden. If you understand what I mean. It seems like he is... I don't know. I've never met him, but from the little I've heard from Lady Phelan, she seems to be happy that he is annoyed because she is the Forest Warden. I don't follow it exactly. It's very complicated.
You believe that she merely is doing this to annoy her husband and for the title?
I have no idea why she's doing this. But she is the Forest Warden.
How did someone like her become the Warden of the Forest?
I don't know. The previous Warden was fine. That he was in his prime, and then he announced that she was his successor, and we have not seen him since.
Goodness.
I mean, elves do, as I'm sure you know, do tend to return to the forest when they think they should, rather than dying. We return to the forest. We don't cease to exist. We just become one with the forest, and our consciousness expands into the forest. Whereas we leave our bodies behind, we become part of... And she looks around, sort of spreads her arms. This beauty.
It is the most beautiful forest I've ever seen.
I won't. It is. It is Drummond, the great forest of Drummond. It is eternal and beautiful.
Thank you for humouring my questions.
Of course.
curious. She does not seem like the...
I'm sure there is a reason why she has become Forest Warden. I do not know what it is. And she seems to concentrate her efforts in the city rather than the forest. She only comes if we summon her.
Which is not ideal for a representative of the forest.
I mean, the Forest Warden obviously is not with me all of the time, but they are, or have been, present in the forest and would sense when and where they are needed. As I'm sure you know, all druids do this.
Of course.
See, I see we are at the edge of the forest. So, Lady Celeste, thank you so much for gracing the Forest of Drummond with your presence. I hope your onward journey is fruitful and successful. And
Thank
I hope
you.
whatever it is you and your companions are doing is ultimately successful, and you are all welcome back here at any time.
Return one day.
Madam Miette, you have been a most gracious guest. I thank you for you and your caravan being in the Forest of Drummond and gracing it with your presence.
And I thank you for your hospitality and your kindness shown to my people.
You are most welcome, Madam Miette. May your caravan return here once more.
Thank you. We look forward to it.
And they'll have beer.
I'm sure that the dwarves that his name.
No, I'm brewing some beer in the caravan. So
Oh,
when we find
I
it,
see.
we can bring it back and it'll have beer.
Ah, that's a very good idea. Absolutely excellent. Madam Miette, your caravan never fails to astonish me.
We are full of tricks, just one.
Yes, you are. So, once you leave the forest, you will experience a sort of buzzing sensation. And don't worry, it's nothing to be alarmed at. It will give you a sense of well-being as you journey on. And as you indeed step out from the forest with her, you get a strange buzzing noise about your body. It makes your fur stand up a little bit. And yours, Ferenz, it's just a bit sort of... You've not experienced this before. But you all are now immune to poison.
Ooh.
You are now immune to being frightened. And you have fire resistance.
Ooh.
You make
Huzzah.
all wisdom saving throws at advantage.
Ooh.
You also have your hit point maximum increases by 16. And you gain that 16. So your hit point maximum goes up by 16. Now this is temporary. It lasts for 48 hours.
Right.
Can you repeat those again? Sorry.
Sure, certainly. You are...
Maybe I was just going to say D&D's just gone down again for me, so maybe it might just be worth putting in the chat so we can amend it afterwards.
Absolutely.
I put them as temporary rather than.
I will throw it into the Discord chat.
When you click on your HP, if you look at the bottom, there's 2 boxes at the bottom, so you can increase your max hit points.
Yeah, this is a temporary thing. You're immune to poison and being frightened. You're resistant to fire damage, which I've put as heat, and you make all wisdom saving throws at advantage. Your hit point maximum also increases by 16, and you get those hit points immediately. So you don't have to heal up those 16; you just get them. And you've got this for 48 hours from leaving the forest.
I was just in the middle of doing that and it crashed again.
48 hours to save the world, people.
Yep.
Indeed. So,
As we leave, the sort of friends will bend down. Now, Miss Iotis, I've got a small gift for you for being, such a so welcoming. And he'll sort of affix a small. He's made it specifically out of sort of leathery vine from the forest, and he's got a small, again, one of those small beads from his armor attached to it, and he sort of hooks it into the leather of her belt, and it sort of looks almost as if it's part of the belt itself.
That is most delicious. Thank you, friends. I assume you are also going with these new companions.
Well, I believe that my path is with them for now, and I think I'm on where I'm going to go where I'm needed.
That is very wise. I think that is a wise course of action. They look as though they need a Ferenz.
Well,
If I may be so bold. So,
I mean, you lot will be a little bit less confused for a while, I guess.
this is very true. So, and she looks around at the rest of you and says, well, you, it appears, have a Ferenz, which is incredibly helpful and very confusing. All at the same time. Do enjoy.
Writing.
As ever, you are most welcome back in the forest. Please have a wonderful time. She sort of melts back into the forest.
Elves are very nice, aren't they?
I love it when she does that. I mean,
They can be.
most of them are. It's just that some of them are a bit.
I know. I met track the door.
Oh, a bit smelly.
No, they're a bit snooty. They're a bit.
Oh, right. Okay.
As with all races, though, Yorick, there's bad eggs in almost all races.
Well, they're very smelly.
No doubt. I was just saying that everyone we met here was lovely.
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, they are all really quite pleasant, and
Right, let's leave it at that. Then. Let's get marching.
To talk toe to toe with the forest warden. I'm not sure I'd agree with that.
Yeah, but she's the first warden, and I mean, it is what it is where she's concerned. But onward, I would say let's start making some tracks.
Okay, so you start making your way along the edge of the forest out into the fireways, and you notice as you get further from the forest, it gets warmer, but not as unpleasant as before. Your buzzy feeling from the great forest of Drummond seems to keep the heat at bay, and yet you notice especially that you're not struggling with the heat. It just feels like a sunny day now. It's all good. So I think we'll leave it there, with you guys about to head back into the fireways towards the mountains. Good game.
In the
Excellent.
mountain.
Bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, indeed.
Ice and Dragon.
Yeah. Well, we learned some interesting things about elves. We learned a few more interesting things about dwarves, including the fact that Yorick's father is not best pleased, which you can kind of understand. You did run off, didn't you? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Fine.
You'll be fine.
They could probably spin it as they just wandered off and, couldn't work out how to get back again.
We just we got kidnapped by you lot.
Just slipped down a mountain and we were
No.
Yeah, we've
See how smart Gus has been this past day. I don't think
We
that would
followed
fly.
a dragon all the way around the country.
That one we get away with.
Okay, so yes, excellent role playing tonight, guys. Thank you very much. You've all been brilliant. I know it was a really wordy episode tonight, but sometimes you got to have those. Can't all be smacking things with sticks, or in the case of Florian, fisting stuff. So
it does give Sprocket time to work on his accent, though. So.
it does, yes, it does.
Or you've got a brand new convoy harvester.
all of the accents that he does. Awesome. Okay, so I pasted that into the chat. So if you when D&D Beyond gets its act together again, you can edit your character sheets and stuff. I just thought it was a nice little buff for coming out of the Forest of Drummond.
Yes, I think that's potentially like one of the first boons we've ever had from leaving a place.
Yeah, normally you're being
Yeah.
chased by shit, so you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm already resistant to fire, so do I become immune to it?
That's a very good point, actually. No.
Me too.
And we obviously have advantage against poison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I
you're
also have advantage against poison.
yeah, but you're now immune to poison,
Mm.
and you're immune to being frightened, which is
How was
handy
that
if you're
anyway?
going up against dragons.
Yeah, just a smidge.
I was immune
So
to
we just had to
being
make sure
frightened
we
anyway.
encounter all the.
Sorry, say again, Debbie.
I was going to say we just had to make sure we encounter all dragons in the next 48 hours.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Save the cheerleader.
Save the world.
So, we'll go around the room. Who shall we start with today? Let's start with Melissa, because she ain't feeling well.
Pass.
Pass? Nothing?
I had to deal with like the
Can't
blocked
talk,
half
fair
of my
enough.
nose changing
Okay.
like 4 times throughout all of that, so
Okay.
You need
Ferenz?
a
I
hot
can't even
compress.
remember half of what happened.
Ferenz, what you got? Anything to add?
To be fair, there's not really anything to add. I think sort of, he's learned a few things about his new companions and possibly some very unpleasant truths, but we'll get there.
Okay. Fair enough. Celeste, what you got? Anything for us today?
She's obviously flattered about them wanting her to be warden of the forest, but a bit bemused because technically she's an outsider. She's first time she's stepping foot in the forest, and they're like, "Yes, be in charge," which is a bit
Obviously
weird.
better than what they've got.
Yes, and obviously intrigued and knows that there's some kind of secret that certain sprockets are keeping, but
Nice pun there. Intrigued.
I don't think that was intentional, but, take it anyway.
I'll take it though. But no, don't touch them.
Florian, got anything?
Yeah, I actually I do like playing in character and stuff like that. And I actually felt towards the end of that episode the realization of the chat of what we're doing next, of going, oh fuck, like we are literally running into the dragon's den to try and stop a war, and then basically the next step is to try and stop the end of the fucking world. I actually felt like a stomach feeling of dread, of like, which was it's quite invigorating, to be fair. It's kind of like, oh shit, we are, aren't we? Oh, okay.
Just imagine
But
how
no.
people feel when we meet our mums.
Yeah, I had that last week.
Yeah.
That was more scary than the end of the world.
I'm so looking forward to Gus's mum. This is going to be something special, this is. Speaking of, Gus,
Yeah.
what you got?
I want to know what Ferenzi's dragon god is. Is it a diamond dragon? Is it what? He just said it. He said it was a crystalline dragon. So is it a gem dragon or is it something else?
I mean,
Yeah, I know. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's the thing that's in my head.
yeah. Well, maybe one day you'll find out.
But Gus doesn't know that because Gus wasn't listening to that conversation. That was between him and Yorick.
Yeah,
I was too busy drinking and chasing dragons
this is true. And making sure children didn't fall off trees.
and jumping off.
And then jumping off trees.
Chasing tail. Whole new meaning.
So, who's next? Miet.
Yeah, blood diamonds have a whole new meaning now in this world.
A
Because
little
like
bit.
blood sapphires and blood rubies, and it's looking at our purse a little differently now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fairly big reveal there, wasn't it?
Yeah, thinking about blood diamonds, this is blood everything.
Yeah, it's like I wonder if the dragons are pissed that half the world's currency is based on their slaughtered kin.
Yep.
Yes, like that's not
Yeah, I
guaranteed to piss anyone off, is it?
when you said about asking the question, James, I I know we definitely hadn't heard that bit, but I'm pretty sure that after the whole Bridger's egg hatching, we've had bits and bobs of your.
Oh no,
backstory
the only
told
thing
to
I
us.
actually told you about was the dragon that died and asked me to look after the baby. I'd never told anyone apart from Yorick the bit about the bitterness in the underneath Daghold,
Mhm.
because that was a
Ah.
shameful secret. I didn't even
No,
want to.
I think I just assumed that because you said I'm sure you'd said you'd like killed or hunted dragons or monsters. So I think in my head I must have just pictured it entirely that you went into caves and got like dragon eggs and like basically split them in half, like without you even
Yeah,
telling us then.
No,
I'd actually assume the same. That was like the eggs were being destroyed, not
Yeah,
being
yeah.
raised to
Nope.
no,
The,
it
get
was the
currency
dragon.
from them.
The
the
dragon.
eggs were being hatched.
Yeah,
There was
And
a
then-
dragon battery
Yeah.
farm.
yeah, for gems,
Harsh.
and that's what I discovered underneath Daghold. The shameful secret of the dwarves.
Indeed.
Dun, dun.
So, Trellador, Sprocket, Thing, whatever you called this week.
Sprocador.
Sprocador, that's it.
Sprockador.
Sprocket.
Rocket.
I think Sprocket is having lots of character growth. He's trusted 2 people now.
Yep. How's that going for him?
Not well.
Well, you trusted 2 people and it's still incredibly rude to one of them.
Yeah, it wasn't you. I'll talk about Miette and Celeste.
Yeah, I know. And you trusted 2 people and was incredibly rude to somebody else
Yeah.
Yeah.
who
That's what
was
you signed
trying
up
to
for.
help you, who thought
Yeah.
you may trust as you've sort of like said about your undying love to them.
Sprockador needs to treat his boyfriend better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's complicated. We haven't really spoken since the boat,
It-
which was
it-
like
Yeah, but
20
even if-
episodes ago.
Oh well,
So-
and I think we have. It's just that you as Trellador or Sprocket has just decided to forget it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
even if it's complicated, there's still a relationship there. Ergo, he's still your boyfriend.
Maybe he's not into dwarfs.
Yeah. Interesting. And finally, the big one for last, Yorick.
I felt bad for Sprocket with he's already having an identity crisis and yet kind of just kept pushing that button.
Yep.
And like I wanted somehow for Yorick to be involved to try and do something to help, but he wasn't, so I had to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. I really
Sorry.
did think that Florian was going to come and get Yorick. That's what I
Yeah.
thought would happen.
Yeah.
Well, no, because like, I mean, who was it? It was only like me, Celeste. Me and Celeste were sober anyway. Everyone else was drinking of some sort.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
and Florian.
dwarfs and beer, like
Well,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
like
if
excellent.
you're not going to trust a dwarf if he's had a beer, then
Yeah, something wrong with you, really.
Plus, you're
I
all
think-
having good times, and I don't think Florian would have interrupted like any chats or anyone having a dance, a sing, or a good time for this. It would have been someone who was potentially sat on their own and contemplating or whatever.
He's saying you're party pooper, Celeste.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
you
Perks of being a wallflower.
Anything else, Yorick? I mean, you learned quite a lot today.
yeah. What my plan was to do the drop a bolt in someone's drink to Sprocket to kind of like go.
Get him involved,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, we can be, and then suddenly he's wrapping a tablecloth over his head and running off a tree,
Yeah.
or whatever happened. So that just kind of went by. The other thing I was kind of I obviously felt bad about was telling our new friend Ferenz, who has a certain reverence for dragons, that we systematically farmed and murdered thousands of dragons.
Yeah.
That felt a bit awkward.
That was a bit awkward.
Yeah. I
By the
think-
way, can we have your help in making the dragons less angry at us, please?
Yeah, we've murdered thousands of dragons. Any chance you could assist us in talking to them?
Yeah. Can you help us with the paperwork to cover that up a little?
Indeed. So, anybody got any other sort of questions or anything apart from Philip?
Don't forget to ask T, just in case, because
I will. Just want to make sure everything's finished here first.
Would it be a bad time to mention that we're near the fire wastes, which is kind of exactly where we think Dakota is being held right now?
Do you know what?
Sorry, you mentioned
very
Florence.
I didn't even think about that.
I did consider bringing it up, but I thought it would bring the tone down.
No, it's definitely worth something. I would have, Florian would have remembered that because he brought that up just before they entered the fire waste, basically, and tried to feel her presence. But yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Jay. More existential dread coming my way.
Happy to help.
Fine. We'll get up the mountain. We'll make some friends. Then we'll ride the dragons down to the fire wastes because they'll be our best
Yeah,
mates.
that arc like it's swinging wildly at the moment.
Yeah, because that'll be interesting.
And then get to the pub and wait for this to all blow over.
Sounds like a plan. I like it.
But we have got a Winchester with us.
We do have a
Literally.
Yeah.
Just a quick question: is there any way you can add that you get advantage for wisdom saving throws on
No,
the?
I've been trying to do it. I can't find a way to do it.
You just have to make a note of it.
Remember.
There is.
I have made a note of it, so I
think-
will try and remember as well. Somebody will pick me up on it. Probably Joe.
I went to do it, and MD Beyond crashed. I'll have a look.
Oh yeah, no, there's not a condition for immunity for frightened either, is there? So.
Yeah, there is. You just got to scroll
Yeah,
down.
There is.
Okay, so with that, Terry, got any questions? No, again. One day.
Lay there, got my hopes up.
She did, yeah. She was deliberately toying with us there, going, well, I might. No. So, this is us for today. We will, of course, be back on Sunday, illnesses permitting, with the next episode of The Investigators, where we hope that the guys will find out what's going on. It's going to be
Yeah, my
great,
bad.
I'm sure. No, it's nobody's bad. If people are ill, people are ill. It's a game. So, this is how we roll in Damaged. You know, real life comes first and all that. So, we will head off for today. We'll be back on Sunday for Investigators, and again here on Tuesday for episode 67 of Helloran Rising. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.